I've never felt more invisible than that day at the company barbecue. There I was, standing alone in a corner, holding a cup of watered-down soda. Nobody had spoken to me in over an hour. My name is Michael Ramirez, I'm 32, and I've been at TechCorp for 5 years and 7 months. Despite working harder than most, I'm still barely one step above where I began. This year had been brutal. I'd worked on a crucial project, practically living at the office for months. Sleepless nights, sacrificed weekends, all to deliver what our most important client needed. I succeeded, but when recognition time came, my boss, Robert Miller, took all the credit. "It was a team effort," he said dismissively to the executives. "My team followed my instructions perfectly. Not a mention that my code saved the project when everyone thought the deadline was impossible." Now Robert stood surrounded by executives, laughing loudly with a steak the CEO himself had served him. "This man is the future of TechCorp," I heard the CEO say. I considered leaving early. No one would notice anyway. "You're Michael, right?" The voice startled me. Next to me stood Lucy Foster, the new HR director who had arrived 3 months ago. "Yes, that's me," I replied, surprised she knew my name. "I've been reviewing files. Your name appears in several impressive technical reports, but never in recognition memos," she said, studying me curiously. I shrugged uncomfortably. "That's teamwork, I guess." "Teamwork. According to my notes, you practically saved the Alcatraz project single-handedly." I felt my cheeks redden. I wasn't used to anyone noticing my work. "It was a complicated project," I mumbled. "Complicated is an understatement. The client was about to cancel the contract, which would have cost us 30% of our annual revenue," she said confidently. Robert approached, noticing the HR director talking to me. His fake smile stretched ear to ear. "Lucy, I see you've met Michael. One of my guys still has a lot to learn," he said, placing his arm over my shoulder, something he'd never done before. Lucy looked at him neutrally. "We were discussing the Alcatraz project." Robert's smile faltered. "Oh yes, we managed to complete it. The team followed my directives well." "Interesting," Lucy replied. "Because server logs show most code was written by Michael during hours when you weren't even in the office." Robert's face transformed as he removed his arm from my shoulder. "Well, the strategy was mine," he insisted defensively. "Of course," said Lucy coldly. "Michael, would you mind getting me another soda?" I nodded and walked away, feeling Robert's furious gaze on my back. As I headed toward the drinks table, I caught fragments of their tense conversation. When I returned, Lucy was talking with the CEO near the grill. I hesitated, then decided to leave the soda on a nearby table. As I turned, I clearly heard my name from the CEO's lips. "Michael Ramirez, are you sure?" I froze. From the corner of my eye, I saw Lucy nod firmly. "Completely sure, James. I've reviewed all repositories. He's been supporting the most difficult projects while others take credit." The CEO frowned, looking surprised. "I've never heard much about him. Why isn't he in a higher position?" "That's exactly what I've been asking myself," Lucy replied. From my safe spot, I noticed the CEO glancing my way several times over the next hour, something that had never happened before. I didn't know whether to feel hopeful or terrified. But I did know this company barbecue wouldn't be just another forgettable day. Something was changing, and for the first time in years, I felt it might be for the better. A week passed since that strange moment at the barbecue. The office had become a minefield. Robert completely changed his attitude toward me. If before he ignored me, now he constantly watched me, questioning every line of code I wrote, finding problems where none existed. "This module is poorly structured, Michael," he announced loudly during a team meeting. "How many times must I explain company standards?" He was pointing to code he himself had approved 2 days earlier. My teammates began distancing themselves. Nobody wanted to be on Robert's bad side. My contributions in meetings were interrupted or ignored. Even Chris, with whom I used to chat about sports, now barely nodded when passing my desk. Thursday, I received an email that made my stomach turn. Lucy Foster requested a private meeting for Friday at 10 a.m. When I opened the email, I felt Robert's gaze from across the office. Somehow he sensed something important had arrived. He approached with determined steps. "Michael, I need you to finish the authentication module today. The client is requesting it urgently," he said, leaning over my desk. "But we agreed we had until Monday," I replied, confused. "Plans have changed." His voice was firm, but his eyes showed unusual nervousness. "Stay until it's finished, even if it's the middle of the night." I understood what he was doing. He wanted me exhausted for tomorrow's meeting. That night, I worked until 2 a.m., finishing the module perfectly. I went home with barely enough time to sleep 4 hours before returning. Friday morning, as I prepared to go to Lucy's office, Robert appeared beside me. "I need you to check something urgent," he said without even greeting me. "Sorry, but I have a meeting with Human Resources in 5 minutes," I replied. His face tensed. "Human Resources? What for?" "I don't know exactly. Lucy Foster requested to see me." Robert laughed. It sounded fake. "Probably routine paperwork. It can wait. This is more important." "I'm sorry, Robert, but if the HR director requests a meeting, I don't think I should postpone it," I said, standing up. His fists clenched at his sides. I'd never challenged him before. "Michael, I'm giving you a direct order as your superior, and I'm following a scheduled appointment with management," I interrupted, surprising myself with my firmness. Lucy's office was on the 15th floor, where management was located. To my surprise, she wasn't alone. Sitting in front of her desk was James Altman, the CEO himself. "Come in, Michael," said Lucy with a kind smile. "Please take a seat." "Michael, first I want to apologize," James began, taking me completely by surprise. "I've been leading this company for 5 years and never had a real conversation with you. Lucy has been conducting a talent audit," he continued. "Your name repeatedly appeared as someone exceptional who hasn't received deserved recognition." "I'm just doing my job," I murmured, unable to process what I was hearing. "No, Michael," James said firmly. "You do much more than that. The question is, why have you never applied for a promotion?" The question froze me. Apply? I had tried talking to Robert about growth opportunities several times. His response was always, "You're not ready yet." "Robert always told me I need more experience," I finally replied. James and Lucy exchanged a significant look. "I understand," said the CEO. "We're reorganizing some departments, and we're considering promoting you to a position of greater responsibility." My mind spun. A promotion? After years of invisibility? "But before deciding," Lucy intervened, "we need to know if you're interested and ready for a leadership role." "I need to be honest," I finally said. "I've waited for an opportunity like this for years, but Robert has always made me doubt my abilities." "Michael," James interrupted gently, "we're not asking what Robert thinks of you, we're asking what you think of yourself." Those words hit me like a revelation. For years I had let Robert's opinion define my worth. "Yes," I replied with surprising confidence. "I'm more than ready. I've been doing this job without the title or recognition for years." James smiled, satisfied. "That's exactly what we wanted to hear." "Perfect," said Lucy. "We'd like you to prepare a presentation for next Friday. Your ideas on how you would improve the department if you were in charge." "In charge?" I asked. "What position are we discussing?" "Software development manager," James said. "Robert's position." The next days were a true test. Maintaining normalcy when everything inside your head has changed is harder than it seems. Each morning, I tried to act as if nothing had happened, as if I didn't know I was being considered to replace my own boss. Robert intensified his hostility. "Your code is mediocre," he told me during a team meeting. "I had to rewrite half the functions you programmed last week." It was an outright lie. The repository clearly showed he hadn't touched a single line of my code, but no one dared contradict him. "Could you show me specifically which parts you modified?" "It would help me improve," I replied calmly. His face tensed at my response. He expected me to defend myself or cower, not ask for details he couldn't provide. Meanwhile, every night I prepared my presentation for Friday, analyzing department weaknesses and improvement opportunities. Thursday afternoon, I received an unexpected text from Chris, my former friend who had been avoiding me lately. "Michael, I need to talk to you. Coffee shop after work?" "Robert is planning something," Chris whispered once we sat at a secluded table. "He's gathering evidence against you. Says he'll prove you've been sabotaging projects and stealing code." My blood froze. "What? That's completely false." "I know," Chris nodded. "But he's altering records, changing dates in repositories. He's desperate. Somehow he found out you're being considered to replace him." "Why tell me this now?" I asked. "You've been avoiding me for weeks." Chris looked down. "I was afraid. Robert made it clear anyone seen as your ally would suffer. But fabricating false evidence? I can't stay quiet about that." Friday morning arrived with a sense of unreality. I dressed in my best suit and arrived early. Robert was already there, animatedly talking on the phone. When he saw me, he hung up and approached with a fake smile. "Michael, I need you to review some urgent documents." "I'm sorry, but I have an important meeting soon," I replied calmly. His smile didn't falter, but his eyes hardened. "This meeting, it's with human resources again?" "Yes, it is." "I see." He nodded slowly. "Well, I also have a meeting with them today, at 9:30. What a coincidence, don't you think? My stomach turned. Half an hour before me. Time to present his false accusations. Robert moved closer. "You made a mistake thinking you could bypass hierarchy. In this company, you wait your turn, and yours hasn't come." When I arrived at the conference room, I found not only Lucy and James, but 3 more executive committee members. They all sat with serious expressions. Robert was nowhere in sight. "Come in, Michael," said James. "We've been waiting for you." "Before we begin," said Lucy, "there's something we need to discuss." My heart hammered in my chest. "We had a meeting with Robert Miller," she continued. "He presented serious accusations against you." I took a deep breath. "I understand. I'd like to respond." "It won't be necessary," James interrupted. "Robert presented what he called conclusive evidence. And what he didn't know is that our IT department implemented a new logging system 3 months ago that documents any repository modification. A system that, curiously, you helped develop." Lucy slid a folder toward me. "The evidence shows alterations made in the last 5 days, all from Robert's computer. Alterations trying to make it look like you had stolen code." I couldn't believe it. The logging system I had helped implement as a side project had saved me. "In other words," James said severely, "he tried to sabotage you by presenting falsified evidence without knowing his manipulations were perfectly documented." "And where is Robert now?" I managed to ask. "Being escorted out by security," Lucy replied. "His contract has been terminated immediately." I gave my presentation, outlining my ideas on reorganizing the department and improving processes. When I finished, James began to applaud. "Impressive," said the CEO. "Exactly the kind of fresh vision we need. Michael, we want to formally offer you the position of Software Development Manager." "It would be an honor," I replied when I finally found my voice. "You've earned it," Lucy assured me. "And we'd like to make the official announcement today at the company lunch at 2 p.m. I'd completely forgotten about the company lunch. Every last Friday of the month, we all gathered in the cafeteria for a special meal where important announcements were made. "Today?" I asked, surprised by the speed. "There's no point in waiting," James replied. "The department needs leadership, and we want to make it clear that TechCorp values integrity and merit." I returned to my desk feeling like I was in a dream. Several colleagues looked at me with curiosity, wondering why I had been in a meeting with management. Only Chris dared to ask. "Everything okay?" he whispered, concerned. "Better than okay," I replied quietly. "I'll tell you after lunch." At 2 o'clock sharp, we all headed to the cafeteria. A small podium had been set up in one corner, from where James usually gave his monthly speeches. I took a seat with my team, who continued treating me with the same distance as in recent weeks. If only they knew what was about to happen. "Good afternoon, everyone," James began. "Today I have several announcements, but I want to start with one that's particularly significant." My heart started beating faster. "As some may already know, Robert Miller is no longer part of Tech Corp," James continued. A murmur ran through the cafeteria. "His departure is due to behaviors that go against our company's fundamental values." The murmur intensified. I felt several gazes turning towards me. "This has led us to reconsider the leadership of the development department," James went on. "We've conducted a thorough evaluation of our internal talent, looking for someone who has exceptional technical skills, integrity, and vision." He paused, scanning the room until his eyes stopped on me. "I am pleased to announce that the new software development manager will be Michael Ramirez." The silence that followed was absolute. I could feel all eyes converging on me, some surprised, others incredulous. And then, from somewhere in the cafeteria, someone began to applaud. It was Lucy. She was joined by James, and then, gradually, the rest of the company. I stood up, legs barely supporting me, and walked toward the podium where James waited with his hand extended. "Congratulations, Michael," he said as he shook my hand. "I'm sure you'll do an exceptional job." I turned to face the audience, toward all those faces that for years had barely noticed my existence. "Thank you for this opportunity," I said, my voice surprisingly firm. "I am committed to leading a department where merit is recognized, where genuine collaboration is the norm, and where each team member has the opportunity to grow and stand out." I saw Chris smile from his table, and I saw how some colleagues who had avoided me in recent weeks now looked at me with a mixture of respect and perhaps some fear. When I returned to my table, now the center of attention, I couldn't help but remember the company barbecue just a few weeks ago. How I had felt invisible, holding a watered-down soda in a corner while Robert hogged the attention. Now, the roles had been reversed in the most dramatic way possible. Monday arrived, and I was now Michael Ramirez, Software Development Manager. My old desk had been moved to Robert's former office, a room with glass walls overlooking the entire department. As I organized my things, several colleagues began to arrive. Their reactions to seeing me in Robert's office were quite a spectacle. Wide eyes, surprised looks, and awkward greetings. Chris was the first to come in and sincerely congratulate me. "You deserve it more than anyone," he said with a genuine smile. Ana Gutierrez, who used to ignore me, appeared at my door with a coffee. "To start the day right, boss," she said, emphasizing the last word with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The first week as manager was a real roller coaster. I had to form new teams, redistribute projects, and most difficult of all, earn the respect of people who until recently had treated me as if I were invisible. The resistance was evident in my first meeting as leader, when I proposed changes to the work methodology. "That's not how we do things here," said Peter, one of the senior programmers closest to Robert. "We've been working a certain way for years, and it's worked well." "I understand your concern," I replied, "but our projects have suffered constant delays. Our clients are starting to look elsewhere. We need to evolve." "Sure, now you know everything because they gave you an office," he muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. The silence that followed was tense, my moment to demonstrate what kind of leader I would be. "You're right, Peter," I finally said, surprising him. "I don't know everything. Nobody does. That's why I propose we work as a team, each contributing their expertise. If after a month the results don't improve, we'll go back to the previous method." "Fair." His confusion was evident. He expected confrontation, not collaboration. "I guess we can try," he finally conceded. By the end of my first week, I had individual conversations with each team member. I discovered hidden talents, heard frustrations kept for years, and made my message clear. In my department, everyone would be seen and valued. James called me to his office on Friday afternoon. I worried briefly, wondering if I'd made some mistake. "How's everything going, Michael?" he asked. It's been intense but positive, I replied honestly. There's resistance, as expected, but I also see incredible opportunities. James smiled. Lucy and I were talking. The team's impressions are mixed, but there's one thing everyone agrees on. For the first time in years, they feel they're really being heard. A feeling of pride washed over me. Exactly what I had set out to achieve. There's something else, James continued. The Alcatraz project has generated so much interest that the client wants to expand it. They'll triple their investment. That's incredible, I said, genuinely surprised. And they specifically requested that you supervise the development, he added. Your name is starting to be mentioned in important places, Michael. 3 months flew by. The department had changed radically under my leadership. We implemented new methodologies, reorganized teams, and created an environment where good ideas were recognized regardless of who they came from. Peter, initially my biggest opponent, was now one of my closest collaborators. His technical experience combined with my innovative vision proved to be a winning combination. I hate to admit it, but you were right, he told me as we reviewed quarterly results. We're delivering projects ahead of schedule and with better quality than ever. The numbers backed his statement. Client satisfaction increased by 40%, and 2 new companies signed contracts with us specifically because of our reputation for excellence. However, not everything was perfect. Ana Gutierrez continued to resist change and formed a small group that constantly questioned my decisions. They reminded me of Robert, criticism behind my back, passive resistance to new initiatives, small sabotages that collectively slowed our progress. One afternoon, Anna entered my office without knocking. I need to talk to you, she said seriously. In private. I'll be direct, she began after closing the door. I've received a job offer from Intersoft. They want me to lead their development department. Intersoft was our main competitor. Losing Anna, with all her internal knowledge, would be a significant blow. I understand, I replied neutrally. Have you already made a decision? It depends. She crossed her arms. They're offering me 30% more than what I earn here. But before accepting, I wanted to give you the opportunity to match their offer. It was a calculated move. She knew I couldn't approve a 30% increase without consulting management. I appreciate your frankness, Anna, I said. You're valuable and I'd like you to stay. I'll talk to Lucy and James about this. I need an answer by tomorrow, she added. Intersoft won't wait long. When Anna left, I immediately called Lucy. Her response surprised me. Anna already spoke to me last week, she told me. I offered her a 15% increase, which she rejected. I think her intention was never to stay, Michael. She just wants to create conflict. The revelation left me thoughtful. Anna had lied to me and was playing a more complex game than I had imagined. They ignored me at the company barbecue until the CEO announced my name as the new manager, Part 6. That night, while driving home, I received an unexpected call from an unknown number. Michael Ramirez, asked a voice that sounded vaguely familiar. Yes. Who's speaking? It's Robert Miller, my former boss, the man who tried to destroy my career. For a moment I considered hanging up. What do you want, Robert? I asked dryly. To warn you, he replied. Ana Gutierrez has been in contact with me. She's not going to any company. She's trying to sabotage the department from within, just like I tried to do to you. Why are you telling me this? I asked, stunned by his confession. Because I ruined my career through pride and resentment. I've been without work for 3 months. No one wants to hire a manager who falsified evidence against his own team. His voice sounded genuinely remorseful, though I wasn't sure if I could trust him. Thanks for the warning, I finally said. The next day, when Anna came to my office expecting an answer about her supposed raise, I was prepared. I talked with Lucy, I said calmly. She told me about the offer she made you last week that you rejected. Her face paled slightly. I also know there's no offer from Intersoft, I continued. I called their hiring director myself. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. Anna, I understand you don't agree with how I lead the department. That's valid. But lying isn't the way. So I'm offering you two options. We can have an honest conversation about your concerns and work together, or you can resign today." Finally, Anna sighed deeply. "I thought you'd be just like Robert," she admitted. "Arrogant, taking credit for others' work. I wanted to test you, see if power would change you." "And what have you discovered?" I asked. "That maybe I was wrong," she replied, seeming sincere for the first time. "Give me one more chance, Michael. No more lies." I nodded, extending my hand. "Let's start over." That afternoon, I received an email from James calling me to an urgent meeting the next day. He didn't mention the reason, which left me anxious despite our good results. I arrived at the office early, reviewing quarterly reports before my meeting. The numbers were excellent, projects delivered on time, satisfied clients, motivated teams. At 10 o'clock sharp, I headed to the executive floor. To my surprise, not only was James waiting for me, but the entire executive committee. The serious faces around me intensified my unease. "Michael, thank you for coming," James began. "We have something important to discuss with you. As you know, the last 3 months have been extraordinary for the development department," he continued. "The indicators show a 40% improvement in all areas. Not only have you worked hard," Lucy added, "you've completely transformed the department's culture. Even those who initially resisted change now recognize the positive difference." The vice president of expansion nodded. 3 new clients have signed with us specifically because of the reputation you're building." "Thank you," I said, beginning to relax. "It's been a team effort." "And there it is." James smiled. "Exactly what I told you." The executives exchanged looks of approval. "Michael," the CEO continued, "when we offered you the manager position, it was because we saw potential in you, but you far exceeded our expectations." He paused, then added, "That's why we want to offer you a new challenge." My heart skipped a beat. "We're opening a new division in Boston," James explained. "It will be our Technology Innovation Center, focused on developing our own products. We want you to lead it as Chief Technology Officer." The offer left me momentarily speechless. "It's a significant leap," Lucy acknowledged, "but your ability to transform teams and your technical vision are exactly what we need." "What about my current team?" I asked. "You can take whoever you consider essential," James replied, "and choose your successor here in Chicago." "Can I think about it?" I finally asked. "Of course, but not too long. We need to start this project soon." That evening, I called James and accepted the offer, with conditions. Chris would come as my second-in-command, and I recommended Anna as my successor in Chicago. Boston awaited us. A new city, new challenges, a new opportunity to prove our worth. But this time, I wouldn't start being invisible. This time, everyone would know exactly who Michael Ramirez was, and all because, at that company barbecue, someone finally noticed my existence. If this story touched your heart, if you identified with that moment when everyone ignored your worth until someone finally saw your potential, I ask you to help me share this message of hope. Every like is a hug for those who feel invisible today in their jobs, their families, or their social circles. Every comment builds a community where we all feel heard. And every subscription allows me to continue sharing these stories that remind us that everyone, absolutely everyone, deserves to be valued. If you know someone who's going through a difficult time, where they feel that no one recognizes their effort, share this video. It might be exactly what they need to hear today. Remember that great transformations begin with small acts of courage, like Lucia noticing Miguel's talent. Perhaps you can be that person for someone else. See you in the next story. Your support makes each one of them possible. Thank you for being here.